Hey y'all, what's going on? It's BarbMeetsWorld, and we are here to discuss the Real Housewives of Potomac season 10, episode 8, Pride and Pettiness. Okay, but before we get into it, you guys already know I need you guys to hit that like button because it helps me and my channel in terms of the algorithm. It helps me attract new subscribers such as yourself. So go ahead and hit that, please and thank you. Also, if you're not a current subscriber, go ahead, hit the subscription button, become a Barb's babe. I would love to have you. And also, while you're at it, you might as well drop down in that comment section. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this episode, as well as my commentary. Make sure you share me with all of your folks. And last but not least, turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. And where we at? We are right here. Hey, y'all. Whew. So we are in the heart of the season, truly and honestly. And I'm still enjoying it. I feel like this episode gave us a lot to talk about. But I don't feel like I'm premature in really standing in how I feel about certain cast members. Of course, I will get into further detail as this recap and review goes on, but I don't plan on being here for that long. I do have to run out. I have a workout class to get to. So anyway, y'all, let's jump right into it. This episode begins with where we left off last week, which is all the ladies are gathered around. They're about to go on this pride parade float situation, and Monique has made her reintroduction into the group. And so we see Kay leading the charge on trying to air out Stacey's dirty laundry in terms of her and Chris having been seeing each other or whatever. And I loved Monique's response. Monique was like, I don't want him anymore. That's why I divorced him. I would assume he's dating. It's been 2 years. Like, hello. And as long as homegirl is nice to my kids, we ain't got no issues. And I'm like, that is the best grown woman response that you could have mustered up, Monique, because truthfully and honestly, yes, you guys aren't together anymore. Monique and Stacey do not know each other. Hey, Kev, what's going on? The last 5 minutes of this episode was everything and wasn't it? Ugh, can't wait to get there. I'm just like, why is Kay the one that's leading the charge on this, on trying to make this a moment? First of all, you don't even know Monique like that either. And you're saying like, oh, she just did a lot in this episode for me, y'all. And I was really over her. Kay is unhinged, is an unhinged chihuahua. I couldn't agree more. And it really sucks. Quite honestly, at this point, I would love, because Mama is gorgeous, like I say every single week. And I do think on her one-on-one scenes, like I do think there's something there enough to where I wouldn't be unhappy seeing her on my screen, but it just has to be in another environment. It has to be in another setup. And by that, I mean, I'm a cosmetologist. She also is in the beauty industry. I would love a salon show. We haven't had a salon show or a spa show, etc. We haven't had that in a while, right? Hello, LA hair, Jerseylicious. If you know, you know. Can we see her in that type of format? Because it's just not giving. It's just not giving on this ensemble cast. And really, if you do hear me, y'all producers out there, if you do place her into that format, just really focus on the spa. I want to know, what are the treatments you guys get there? What are your employees like? Her mom can make cameos. We know we love to see her mother. But in this setup, I'm good. I'm good on her, and I don't feel bad because we are now 8 episodes in. This is our 3rd season seeing her on our screens, our 2nd season seeing her full time. I'm good. Y'all let me know. Yes, stunning face card. That is only it, period. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, I just can't do it. But going back to the scene, y'all, I did love how Monique handled that. And so Stacey, she kind of is put in the hot seat once again, and they're, talking about her brand and everything. And, she's like, I told you guys, I did my DNA and I do have Nigerian ancestry. And this whole thing comes down to like an ancestry versus heritage thing, which I completely understand. And I do feel like Stacey was doing a lot with this and kind of playing in certain people's faces. But overall, if a lot of times Stacey's lies only affect her, I say a lot of times, not all times, and I will further explain that a little bit later on. Right now, her lies are really only impacting her. So I really need several people to back on up off of her neck. But I know we won't get that, unfortunately. What else? And also, I was like, Tia, obviously Tia didn't know because this was filmed last year, but Tia said, we can't claim Stacey because she pays boyfriends and boyfriends pay us, darling. Like that's a no-go. And I was like, oh, do they? Danish deception, anybody? If y'all know what I'm talking about, girl, I went on a rabbit hole with that one. And honestly, y'all let me know in the comments too if you want to talk about that. I think I might come back and talk about that at some point over the next couple of days because it took the TikTok and social media by storm, and I have a lot to say on it. So anyway, back to this. What else? Angel tried to throw in her little 2 cents asking what is the social justice component of Stacey's business. I love that Stacey paid her dust because I'm like, oh, now you want to ask this lady about what she has going on with her business. But last time I checked, when she tried to really genuinely give you a chance and get to know you, you were less than welcoming, even though you want to claim that you've been so welcoming. Disjointed a little bit. Yeah, I think so. I'd rather Stacey's lies versus Mia's. Glad Mia is no less on RHOP. To be honest, Mia's absence is unnoticed. Yeah, it is. I think we have a lot more to talk about. So I like to think in light of recent events, we definitely will not be seeing her on our screens anytime soon. And that's fine by me. Actually, I think it's her birthday today. Don't ask how I know that. Well, I make it sound like I care. I had looked it up when I seen her get arrested last week or whatever. When I Googled her, I was like, oh, that sucks. You gonna be in a slammer still on your birthday? Womp, womp, womp. Anyway, what else? They look like they have fun on the float. And then afterwards, they all gather around. And this is when we hear a little bit more about Monique's divorce and what all ensued in that whole thing. And she just says that basically what a lot of us have said, what honestly Gizelle has said back then, Monique was just putting on fronts when she came on the show. And even going beyond that, she said when she first realized that she couldn't do that, this whole marriage thing anymore, it was when her daughter was like 6 months old, if I'm not mistaken. And now her daughter's 10. And she also had a baby after that. So I'm just thinking about the time frame of everything. I'm like, you knew that since the get-go. I feel like she knew that since the get-go, unfortunately. But I shouldn't say unfortunately, because obviously children are blessings. I can 100% assume that she does not regret having her children. But in this context, I guess she could have did without the marriage, and it ran its course. And she finally, what finally snapped her out of it was she said, well, a lot of times Chris would just basically butter her up to get what he wanted, and then he would go back to acting like how he would act off screen. And she said, I'm gonna put this to the test. She put it to the test by, giving him some booty. And then once again, he went right back into acting a certain type of way directly following. And she said the next day, she was like, yeah, you will never enter me again. And I was like, I think that's totally okay. But I wish she, again, would have came on the show initially, standing 100% in her truth from the get-go. And I'm glad that, better late than never. I feel like sometimes people spend the rest of their lives stuck in these situations versus getting divorced when relationships have ran their course. And she produced 3 children from it. And I think maybe, that's just how it was supposed to happen for them. Moving on. Oh yeah. And they even flash back to a France trip that they went on in earlier seasons. And Gizelle had mentioned, or Monique had mentioned, that every time her birthday comes around or whatever, Chris wants to act a donkey pretty much. And huge red flag. That's always been on my list of red flags. I have seen that happen in real time, and I 100% know where Gizelle was coming from when she says, like, okay, well, do you think maybe it's because the spotlight, you're moving into the center spotlight in that moment, and it's not just about him? And I feel like that is sometimes what certain people struggle with in relationships, is they have these partners that are so used to being the main character, so to speak, that they don't know how to then fill in to those supportive roles. They don't know how to be the support. They only know how to be the supported. And I mean, some people, I feel like most people probably do it on purpose, because I just don't know how you could be wired like that, to be honest with you. I guess I'm way too empathetic of a person. I'm someone that has no issues, filling a supportive role in moments. Sometimes it's going to be about you, what you got going on. You're going to be the one walking across the stage, and then vice versa. It's going to be me walking across the stage and me looking out into the audience and seeing you, clapping for me. It's a reciprocal thing, and it doesn't really sound like there's a lot of reciprocity in Monique's marriage at the end of the day. What else? I think that was it for that. Moving on. Angel and Bobby. If I have time, I'm actually going to play this clip. Kev knows what clip I'm talking about. I came across a little snippet of something Angel said that really irked me in an interview recently. So I'll try to remember to bring that up in the end. But in this scene, they went to go look at a 3.25, I think, $1 million house, 4 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. It looked nice, but Angel says that they've always been a family that was supposed to be living by coastal, and we already know that she still has the Colorado house all, set up and everything. We're not going to disturb that. My thing is, she says they've looked at least 100 houses by now and they haven't found what they wanted. If you guys are so particular, why the fuck don't you guys just build from the ground up? I mean, I don't even have nearly as much money as y'all have, I'm sure. And that's already something I know. Me and my husband talk about it all the time. What we want to have in our forever home that we know we're going to build from the ground up, because we know that we want certain things. Maybe I'm just crazy. Hey, Rose City. I was surprised to hear her say that you will not enter me again took me out. Yeah, that was, woo. I clutched my pearls a little bit, but I'm not mad at it. Yeah, I'm just like, just build a house from the ground up. He about to hit his head and knock himself unconscious on the beams and shit. Like, I don't understand. And did you guys also catch, it was real quick, and I assume she wasn't doing it to be malicious, but I just don't like people bringing up certain things about other people until that person brings it up themselves. And when they went out back to go sit down and her to talk once again about this fucking trip and this whole catfish issue and whatever, you notice how she was like, oh, okay, with, love this weed and Wednesdays or whatever. She said something about weed, and I'm just like, did Kay come out and tell the world that she smokes weed? What if Kay didn't want people to know she smoked weed? Maybe I'm just putting 20 on 10, but I was just a little annoyed by that. Like, that's her business. Anyway, what else? I love how once again, Angel was making this whole thing about how Wendy allegedly said the word catfish and, started the whole thing up in that regard. But I also equally loved how production wasn't too shy to roll that footage back where we clearly saw Gizelle bringing up the word catfish before Wendy even parted her lips. So again, you just are dead set on having an issue with Wendy. And I feel 100% confident in saying that 8 episodes in. At this point, no one can tell me otherwise. It's a hill and I'm dying on it. Sorry, I am. What else? So OMG, that kills me. Yes, I was okay. I ain't got nothing else to say about her, y'all. I'm sorry, I don't. What else? Oh, this little meetup between Gizelle, Ashley, Kate, and Tia. They all gather around, and Ashley, we don't care that you were out until 3 a.m. Moving on. I did think the little English muffin nickname would be cute for Tia. I did think that was cute. And y'all let me know, do you guys feel like what's her face, Grace, is being groomed to kind of do a second generation Riley, Gia Giudice type of thing? Do you think that they're, grooming her to do something like that, or is it just me? I don't know. Like I feel like maybe we might see her fill in that type of role. And don't get me wrong, Grace is beautiful. I have nothing against Grace. Do I got some things against her mama? Of course, but I don't have anything against her or her sisters. But I think we've gotten confessionals from Grace before, but if they are trying to prep her for something like that, she needs to continue to come on out her shell. Does she need to be getting into all the drama with her mama and her mama's friends? No, but yeah, I want to continue to see more of her then if she is going to move into one of those roles. Go on, next gen. Yeah. No, you are not reaching. Angel was in no right to put Kay's information out like that. People like that are incredibly dangerous. Yeah, like it just, I don't know. And don't get me wrong, y'all. I'm not no prude. Like I am all about if you want to, blow it down in your free time, if you want to eat a couple edibles, whatever, that's fine. I don't care about that, but that is her business. And sometimes people are more sensitive about letting the world know about stuff like that. I get why you mentioned Grace being groomed for the possibility of next gen. Yeah, or I'm just curious. It obviously her children are home from school. It's the summertime and stuff, and I do think that this would be great for her resume. Grace helping coordinate her mom's party and stuff like that. But I was like, okay, I could see what they're doing potentially. What else? So on a more serious note, this is where we find out that Cookie called Kay right after they left each other the other day. And from there, she was talking to Cookie, and then Chris apparently called Cookie super upset because Stacey called him to tell him about what Monique said when they were all around the table and stuff like that. And the message that got back to him was that she was, talking trash about him in general and that he had bad sex. You notice how I said about four names in there, y'all? Excuse me. I'm still like, I'm not sick, but my voice is just doing the most. Anyway, you notice I said about like 4 or 5 names? That is the game of telephone to me. And quite honestly, we don't know what to believe because several people, well, not several people, but a certain persons, I'll say persons, have said that Cookie is not the most credible source. And I also think that if somebody did say something to Chris, then that's absolutely a no-go. But I could also see in one reality, this being something that Kay and maybe Cookie came up with to like frame Stacey, so to speak, because we know that Cookie don't like Stacey. We know that Kay wants to have a problem with Stacey for whatever reason. And I think it's very befitting. Later on, we found out that Monique and doesn't see it for Cookie, and she would probably start some stuff. Start some stuff when it comes to Monique as well. So I'm not really knowing who to believe. Do I understand though that no matter who told, what was told, no, I don't think that's a conversation that should have left that area. But at the same time, y'all do realize, and I'm glad I have this picture, y'all, I hope they realize they didn't have auditory privacy because this group was listening to the whole fucking conversation. So we don't know who told. Quite honestly, we don't know who told. It could have been anybody at this point. What are y'all saying? It was wrong, which may affect her reputation and her business. Exactly. Kay lying. I saw that because Monique is much closer to Gizelle. Why would Cookie for help Kay first coming to us with BS? Knock it off, Kay. You suck. Exactly. It's like, yeah, why wouldn't she go to an OG who she's really cool with? Really go to somebody who could, take this information and run with it. Y'all see why I'm just not featuring Kay right now. I hope y'all do. I just thought that was very odd. And quite honestly, I don't really care. Like Monique says she doesn't care about Chris and Stacey. Do we know that if she and Chris have been involved or, are still involved, or do we know any of the real behind that? No, we don't. But honestly, I don't even care at this point. I'd rather hear the real about other areas of her life, which I will get into in like the next scene or whatever, but I didn't care about it in this moment. Anyway, they all agree that it's not cool and it's against girl code. Moving on. So we also get a one-on-one with Monique and Wendy. They got their little matching Chanels, and I want to say Wendy first, because I knew at some point she was going to have to address like the Candace fight kind of situation of it all. Otherwise, it's like people I knew they were going to point out in the comments the elephant in the room when it comes to that. Again, these two women hadn't had a chance to really get to know one another because the fight broke out pretty much before they could build any type of familiarity with one another. So Wendy said she's always been open to it, although she wasn't going to be the one to make that first phone call, reach out first, because like she was friends with Candace and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, makes sense, I guess, or whatever. And to this day, do I think that Candace and Wendy are besties or anything like that? No, I do think they had a great like working relationship. I'm sure they, might, send a text on Mother's Day or birthdays, or, might talk every now and then and stuff like that. But I don't think that their friendship really spanned too deeply outside of the show. But again, I'm glad that Wendy did kind of address the elephant in the room when it comes to that, nonetheless. I really liked Wendy's dress in the scene too. Both of them are undeniably beautiful, of course. And they also agree that it did suck that they never really got a chance to learn anything about one another. Monique also asked Wendy about her relationship with Gizelle, and Wendy says that they're in a much better space now. And she would even regard Gizelle as a friend. And I was like, okay, I mean, no surprises there. And I do feel like I'm not gonna continue to say anything negative when it comes to this friendship between Wendy and Gizelle, because for the most part, things that Gizelle has said outside of the show, especially in light of recent events surrounding Wendy, haven't been the normal nasty Gizelle isms and just nasty rhetoric that she normally would be relying on in these types of moments. So I'm gonna be cool on that. Am I still Gizelle fan? No. But if they want to call themselves friends, whatever. Anyway, Monique does is aware though that her and Gizelle need to have this conversation. I'm like, I hope it happens in the next episode because I don't want too much time to pass. I don't want there to continue to be integration into the group, and then the conversation happens. Like they need to talk sooner rather than later. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. That's when Karen also got brought up. Wendy didn't refrain from saying that, from reflecting back on how Karen pretty much thanked and acknowledged everybody else in the group last season when she sent that video into the reunion, and she very, very, very obviously left Wendy out. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with Wendy having a bad taste in her mouth from then on. And then this is when Cookie is brought up. And fun fact, Cookie is the one that actually, or Monique is the one that actually acquainted Cookie and Karen. So I thought that was interesting. And Cookie's also, once again, not a credible source, because if you want to stand around here and lie about being Chuck Brown's daughter like that, then I can't believe anything that you would say out your mouth. And what? Like what? Who? Why lie like that? Who lies like that? I always thought Candace and Wendy had an alliance on RHOP. Yeah, I do think, again, I do think that they had a good working relationship and had each other's back, knew that, they were going to stick together on the show. And I do think, to a degree, that probably obviously spanned outside of the show, where they were cool. Do I think that they're best friends? No, but I do think that they're cool. I would like to think Candace won't have any issue with Wendy developing a friendship with Monique, or getting to know her at least, being that she knows how the show works. I don't think that she would hold that against Wendy. I'd like to think she wouldn't. I guess obviously only time will tell. Yes, Candace and Wendy were buddies. And why did Karen do that to Wendy? Because I'm still trying to find that out. And I really pray that is addressed next season, whether or not Wendy's going to be on the show or whatever. I do hope with her on the show or without her on the show, I hope that's addressed, because what the fuck was that about, Karen? Wendy also gave a little bit of background on Stacey and, how the girls have been ganging up on her and everything. But at the same time, it's like Stacey gives them this ammunition pretty much to throw things in her face, and based on the things that she says and she does. And Monique's like, maybe you should take a step back and really assess who she is, because maybe she's trying to become you. Like, I was like, okay, I mean, that's fair. I thought that was fair. I thought that was a fair tip. I thought that was a fair suggestion, because I do think that that's something that a person, even off this show, would suggest in this type of moment. But once again, Stacey's lies, for the most part, don't really affect anybody else. My only critique with that is, at this point, Stacey's lies are starting to make us, I feel like, as viewers, kind of question the validity of everything that comes out of her mouth and what's really going on in her life. We need a soft place to land at some point. Yeah, you can play in these ladies' faces, but I feel like you should either keep it more real with us in the confessionals, or make sure that at least something in your life cannot be questioned, because I do even see people still questioning things between her and her ex-husband, even after this episode. And I'm like, well, this is when I agree with something, or this is when I agree with things like this being said about her, because it's like, we can't have everything be a lie. We can't have everything be a true versus false, fact versus fiction. Like, we do need to know something concrete. And I don't feel like we formed that in any little area of Stacey's life yet. So that's something I'm going to need as a viewer soon. Obviously, I can't speak for all of y'all. Y'all let me know, but it's like we're her romantic life, certain things are questionable there. this whole new brand, the brand, Shio and stuff, certain stuff's questionable there. We need to know the real, undeniable truth about something. We do. I will never forget how trifling it was for Wendy to invite Karen to the White House, yet Karen overlooked Wendy at last year's reunion. From that moment, no longer saw it for Karen. Honestly, barely liked her anyway. Karen was always my fave, up until, what all occurred with her. I'm still looking forward to hearing her truth and hoping that she is going to be 100% truthful when she has to sit down with Andy. But, I think that was some utter bullshit. And yeah, she needs to be put on a hot seat for that. I don't give a fuck about any. Yeah. Oh, okay. Tell us about your time in jail. Okay. How are you feeling today? Okay. Why the fuck did you do that to Wendy? Like, full stop. I am on the fence with Stacey. I don't judge you for saying that. Rose City. Oh my God. I didn't even realize your name being Rose City. Technically the town I'm from is that's a nickname, is Rose City. So that's cute. What else? Speaking of Stacey, we get a scene with her and Thiemo. Thiemo. Her ex-husband, boyfriend, probably going to be her husband again. We get a scene with them. Do you guys feel like there's chemistry there or not? It's like on one hand, I'm like, oh, I do see it. Like, I get it. I'd like to think she wouldn't lie about that. On the other hand, I'm like, I'm like, maybe it's just him being like awkward on the camera, or again, not fully being open to this and still kind of, treading lightly, which I understand, especially on this type of show where, I don't know, pretty much every husband that's came on here has gotten whacked and pulled into some BS, rightfully and for the most part wrongfully. So I do understand how he could be apprehensive. And I also can't get on Stacey too much about how she's handling it, because she is still filming with him. She just doesn't want to bring him about everybody else, which is fine. We've seen that happen. Other husbands in the past, like that's been a thing. Panning over to even Salt Lake, which comes on tonight. If you guys watch that, Todd's only really been filming with Bronwyn. I can't think of anybody else right now, but this has happened before on these shows where that's still like the cast members' real life. It's just their partner maybe doesn't want to, come on, which is fine to a degree. However, I don't know about that when it comes down to the reunion. That's where it can get a little sticky, but nobody can really, have anything negative to say about her with that. To be honest, I am crossing English muffin. To be honest, I am crossing my fingers Karen does not return to RHOP this season. Is better without her. I think it's just sad for me, because it's like I do not support what she's done at all. I did really enjoy her on the show, but it's like it's one of those things where, and I feel like with every arrest, we've kind of been grappling with should the person return? Should they not? Is it more of a subjective versus an objective thing? Because on one hand, it's like you can't say that, you want the Jen Shaw's back, but then you don't. You have to say the same thing for, the Karens and these people. Like, it is a really interesting situation, and I think it all comes down to the fact that I wish it just never happened in the beginning, so we wouldn't be in this position, in this ethical dilemma, so to speak. But I respect why you're saying that. Totally. I get it. With Karen, that whole etiquette crap she cosplayed season 1 turned me off now. Makes sense why Jack and Jill never wanted no parts of RHOP. Oh, we've known that for years. It was never given that for real. And I mean, it's like every other week, another one bites the dust when it comes down to, that's why I understand why, shout outs to Rodney the Voice, why he calls it Potomac. Like, it's always something over here. which is again going back to the scene why Thiemo is not just trying to dive in head first into this whole situation. You know what he has been diving into head first though? Stacey, because she let us know that it's splash waterfalls over there, and we know that that is the polar opposite of what she was giving us with TJ last season. So anyway, they're at Arabella's little swim practice or whatever, and I don't think that obviously they still haven't told her about them, rekindling things, so to speak. But I'm like, obviously she's focused on what she's doing and she's swimming, but to a degree, she was still within eyesight, so they were all hugged up and stuff like that. And I'm like, she could see y'all. Can she see y'all? Like what? Anyway, so this is like Stacey's soft launch of bringing him around and or getting him to acquainting him with somebody, and that somebody in this situation is Tia. She felt the safest. She felt the safest introducing him to Tia first out of everybody, because of obviously the smoke that she's been getting from everybody else and stuff like that. I understand that. And so this is where we kind of get into this weird, is he going to be in town? Is he not? On one hand, Tia's inviting him out the next day, but he says that he flies out tomorrow. And then I want to say Stacey said that he's supposed to come back the following Wednesday, which will also mean that he's missing Gizelle's event on Sunday. And am I the only person that noticed Stacey's body language change a bit when they switched gears to talk about Monique and Chris and stuff? I did feel like she, again, was kind of her body language was switching up a bit, and it made me question whether or not she was telling the truth on that. So just wondering if you guys also picked up on that. And her bottom line is she will introduce him to the group when Gizelle introduces her mans to the group. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll continue to wait and look up to see if pigs are flying or not. Anyway, Gizelle is preparing for this event, like I just referred to. And this is where we find out that Robin will not be attending. Was I fully surprised? No. I'm like, I feel like we would have seen that in the season trailer or something like that. That would have been spoken about. This is their 10 million streams like party or whatever celebration. And I do understand that it's being showcased on the show, but since this is really their legit brand outside of the show, Robin should have brought that ass there. And I'm just like, Robin, like, if this is a bag, Robin is going to just miss it. She's just going to miss it every single time. Like, if there's a bag to be missed, Robin is determined to just never capitalize off of anything. Her whole thing, Gizelle says later on, is she doesn't like how she exited the show. She is her own downfall every single time. She is going to be the one that is going to stand in her way every single time. And I get it. You left on some BS. Maybe you've woken up since then and realized, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have handled it differently, not try to put stuff behind a paywall. I get it. And I want to say, it's been said that she was offered a friend of, but she wanted to be full-time, which I completely understand. But it's like, girl, why not come on here and still, she could have been a guest at least. And I don't know if they throw you any change for that. I get that you want to actually put a dollar amount on showcasing your life, but I just felt like that was really bad for branding purposes. And as a friend, I would have felt some type of way, and I understand if because Gizelle did. The only reason why Gizelle and Robin have listeners is because of RHOP. Exactly. Yes, you notice the body language change with Stacey. As for Jen Shaw, Andy has made it very clear he never wants her back on Ross. Like, totally caught that as well. So I like to think we will never have that issue. Thank God. For Robin not to celebrate with Gizelle, this episode has sealed her fate to never return to RHB. It was just corny. Even on in the BravoCon clip I saw, shout outs to Alexander Rogers. I want to say it was him that asked, I can't remember what he asked her verbatim, but it was something about the show. And or does she regret, pretty much this whole situation, does she regret doing things the way she did when she, upon her exit off the show and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, can we just talk about traitors or so yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy. I know that she this wasn't a surprise, but I'm just like, seriously, like, get the fuck up off that couch, like they said. It was just so corny to me. Robin's always so corny to me. She's been corny to me since she did shit like this. Like, are we really surprised though? No, I'm sure we're not. Anyway, Tia and Rob, Wendy and Eddie, they have a little double date. Like I said before, it was supposed to be a triple date, but it's not going to be such because Thiemo was in town, out of town, around town, whoever knows, or who knows. Tia and Rob, they've been married 17 years, but she has never been to Chicago. Did you guys find that weird? I know I did. I'm like, girl, have the kids at least been to Chicago? And don't tell me that's not a coincidence. That's got to be on purpose. 17 years. She lied about her age when they first got together. So I did the math. I'm guessing she's around like 46, 47, 45, 40, mid to later 40s, which is, cool, whatever. Rob is a little bit older than her. And I mean, they both look great. And it is refreshing to see this, Nigerian connection coming together between her and Wendy naturally. And if any of you guys were wondering, to the people in the back that keep saying, oh, are they gonna be deported? Or are they gonna be deported with this whole situation and stuff like that? Pipe down on your xenophobia, because Eddie was not. He was born here, is what I gathered from this conversation. You know what else I gathered from this conversation? Unfortunately, I have to say, Wendy has always been, I don't want to say, should I say materialistic? She's always been about, like, items and a certain type of life and stuff like that. And I get it. No scrubs. If I got a car, I hope you better have a car too. I get all that, but especially at that young of an age, she's and what I'm referring to, if you watch the episode, is how Eddie said that Wendy wasn't checking for them, even though they've known each other since they were like 17. She wasn't checking for him because he didn't have a car back then, only for her to then peep like, oh, he's a man now, he got a car and blah blah blah. Once they got to college, and it was a different story. And I'm also thinking like, could that have also added some level of pressure onto the relationship, to where he feels like he always has to live up to a certain standard or provide a certain standard or quality of life in order to appease her and stuff like that. Like, I just felt like there's a bit to just dissect there. And I would love to know your guys' thoughts on that in the comments. Yes, it was weird. Tia was 19 and her now husband was 27. Oh, when they met. Sounds predatory, I'm just saying. Yeah. See, like I said, I was trying to do the math, but I didn't even do that. Thank you, Kev, for that, because I didn't even do the math comparatively like that. That's a little weird for me. 27, 19. When you break it down like that, a little weird for me. See nothing wrong with Wendy being materialistic. I don't either, until you start to be your own until you start to do it in a way that it becomes detrimental. which again, I try not to focus on what's going on in real time while talking about the show, but I do think her mindset around items and money and different stuff, I do think that there's a bit to unpack there and kind of dive deeper into. Just don't file false insurance. Yeah. I also, at one point in the episode, she made a joke, I want to say, about GNA. She's like, is this an insurance scheme? Or she said is something about schemes or whatever. Don't quote me verbatim, y'all. And I was like, that didn't really age well either, because I mean, obviously, yes, in light of recent events, but it's also like, y'all have to stop being so quick to have something slick to say when you see another person to the left or right of you going through hard times and experiencing a low point and stuff like that, because those tides can turn so quickly. And I mean that for them on the show. I mean that for people in real life. We see what just happened, obviously, with Mia and stuff like that. And just 5 weeks or whatever prior, she had something to say about Wendy and what she was going through and stuff like that. So it's not that is a real thing, y'all. And I just need people to not play with that, because it can always spin the block on your ass, and 9 times out of 10 it does. I was crazy. I was just talking about this with my with one of my girlfriends last night, and it's just like, you can never there's such thing as speaking too soon. I'll say that. There's such thing as speaking too soon. And that's why I don't celebrate people's shortcomings and stuff like that. I don't, because what else? So the main thing with this whole scene, this whole double date scene, is whether or not Stacey was being truthful about when Thiemo was going to be in town versus out of town or whatever, whether or not she wanted to only introduce him to Tia because she felt that was the most safe, but Wendy is obviously going to feel some type of way because Wendy's had her back when no one has, and she thought they were the closest. So let's just call Stacey up to really get to the bottom of this. And so Wendy does. And so Stacey was kind of caught up in some weirdness as far as schedules go, because she said that, oh yeah, he just left that day or something. What did he say? Yeah, you said you weren't going to be here, you were going to be out of town. And Stacey begins to backtrack by saying he just flew in today. So it's like, unless he went to Canada and back, like, the timelines just didn't add up. And my whole thing is, Stacey, just come out and say that he doesn't want to meet everybody right now. We're not on that chapter yet. Just be honest about it. I don't feel like that needs much more justification other than saying it flat out, because I do think that because of historical events on this show, I can understand why a person would be apprehensive, especially because you guys are just rekindling. It is still a very fragile relationship. So I don't feel like there's anything wrong with just coming out and flat out saying it. I don't get that. And that's where I have to get off the bus with her. So Stacey apologizes to Wendy and says how she regrets introducing Tia to him first. Obviously Tia's feeling slighted because she was standing up for Stacey, and it's like, girl, really? She says that later. Never mind. She's over it. She feels like idiotic for defending Stacey pretty much. And once they hang up, then they start talking about the angel of it all. And I love that in the end, Wendy was like, girl, you and that camouflage. And that's what I would say too, because no matter what, Angel's going to find a reason to be upset with Wendy versus Gizelle. And we see this unseen clip of Tia talking about how Wendy was dismissive and cold and nasty towards her to the airport and stuff like that. And I'm like, all this should have been addressed on the trip, because now we're several episodes after the trip and you're still bringing this up, Angel. And when you recall these events, it doesn't match up to what really happened, it seems like, as well. There's 31 people watching collectively. Y'all, please make sure you go ahead, hit the like button. What else? It was odd that Stacey would not introduce Wendy first. Yeah, it was odd. And again, it's odd that she won't just say what it really is. And I feel like that would be respected much more. I like, it sounds corny, cliche, y'all, but honesty is really the best policy, I feel like, especially in these situations, because like Wendy mentioned earlier, it gives them more ammunition to try to poke and prod at you, Stacey. Bottom line, Stacey's husband does not want to be those women who berate his wife, period. And I think just say that. Like, that's literally what I'm saying. Just say that. There's nothing wrong with him feeling like that. And I feel like they can only then respect it. But if you keep trying to dance around the truth or whatever, it's just like, one, you guys clearly didn't corroborate your accounts of things correctly, or your lies or whatever, which you want to tell people. It just is so much better just to say it directly. I felt like Tia was trying to be messy. Yeah, you guys, I don't know if you paid attention to my little thumbnail blurbs that I put up this week, but yeah, it literally says, why is there, I don't know why there's a little thing there, but anyway, it literally says it wasn't that serious. And I feel like at the end of the day, Stacey, and some people might say I'm dancing on the fence. I don't care. You know, I love to say, two things can be true at the same time. And when I say that, I mean, Stacey, yeah, you were giving them reason to question what you were saying, but Tia also, I don't think it was that serious to go off the way you did, especially towards the end of this episode, which we're going to get into right now. It's the day of Gizelle's 10 million downloads party. And I'm not sure if I was the only person that noticed this full titty on titty hug that Angel gave Gizelle. I'm like, again, more proof. Why are you not upset with her, but you're so upset with Wendy? I don't get it. Jassi, she also popped back on the scene. And for whatever reason, Angel thought it was a good time to ask Gizelle how they can get to know each other better and to still keep picking this old bone about what transpired on the trip and stuff like that. And to me, it was just word salad. And I also had to agree with Gizelle in her confessional when she said, like, girl, I do not care about you and this right now. I care about celebrating me. And although I feel like Gizelle can be on her BS, this is one of those times I have to agree with her. Like, girl, you're really trying to have this conversation at my party? Are you okay? Clearly not. Wendy's saying F you in that camouflage response. It was, because her issue is ridiculous to me. So I didn't watch Love Hotel, so I didn't even really care about this little scene with the dude popping up. Ashley was pressed. I did think it was nice that he brought Gizelle flowers and Robin flowers, obviously, but she wasn't there. So I guess Gizelle got 2 bouquets. Stupid. I don't really care. I don't. I'm sorry, y'all. Vivian was also there. Stacey with the head pat. Oh my God. I thought that was funny and shady and just really Stacey. But at the same time, I didn't really like how things transpired between her and Stacey last year. And although we've seen Vivian a bunch and stuff like that, she's never been formally introduced as a friend of the show or anything like that. When that happened, I really didn't like what Vivian had said Stacey did and stuff like that last season. I don't know. What else? Oh, I really loved Stacey's gold confessional look. And actually I forgot to show Wendy's finger waves during that during the last part of this episode. Oh, yes. Oh, I've seen her post pictures with her like finger waves and stuff like that last season or during the off season or whatever, and I was like, oh, I hope I see this on the show. Like, such a look. Oh, I love it. And I loved her confessional look here too. So pretty. And then Stacey's gold confessional look. I thought this was a really pretty look too. Y'all know I love the fashions. Gotta always take those into account. Never mind. I just had an epiphany. Sorry, y'all. It's funny to see the new people try to create drama. Wendy's finger waves was, yes, they were. I'm like, I always say I'm gonna, at some point in my life, I'm gonna cut my hair and I'm gonna lock my hair. And last night or Sunday night when I saw those finger waves in Wendy's head, I was like, maybe I'm ready to just cut it this time because loved it. Anyway, Angel's not giving Gizelle any smoke because Angel's, yes. We had that conversation in the DM a little bit. I believe that fully. You cannot tell me otherwise. And let me try to run through this so I can leave you guys with that little clip I found of Angel. Gizelle makes her toast. Actually, one more picture, y'all. Sorry. Where is it? What is this in Giselle's head? Did she just slap this ponytail on in the parking lot before she came in? What are we doing? What is that? Oh my goodness. So irritated when I saw that. Oh my God. So after a toast, Sharice was also there. After the toast, freaking, I think it was Stacey, Tia, and Wendy, they all like step off the side, obviously, to have that conversation. But then because we're on Housewives, the rest of the group joins them, and boom, we're in it. I think Cookie had made her appearance by this point. And so Tia's whole thing is, or Stacey says that she doesn't really like that Tia's one way in front of everybody and then one way when she's not in front of everybody. And Tia's response was, she heard that Stacey shared a lot about Stacey in the beginning, and rather than have, go off these preconceived notions and stuff like that, she wanted to just give her a chance until she proved otherwise. And, she left her house at 5 a.m. I was like, 5 a.m.? But where the anyway. And to meet Stacey and her family. And it's like, she was interested in having a friendship with her, but now she's no longer interested. It's past tense. And so they begin to go back and forth. And on whether or not Thiemo was supposed to be flying out of town on this day versus this day. And Tia throws out one of her favorite lines about, don't let this accent fool you. And I was like, I thought that was corny, like, and annoying. But anyway, and that's exactly why Stacey started clapping. I thought that was hilarious. It's how Gizelle says that what did Gizelle say? Like, oh, she said it was messed up pretty much when Stacey started like clapping and saying what she had to say. But I was like, Gizelle, weren't you the same person that was clapping, saying tears? When Candace was crying and having a moment on her last reunion. Okay, I just had to make sure I wasn't crazy. So Tia swears that, she was a good bloody friend to Stacey, and they're speaking, of real friends, and, of all people, Kay decides to chime in and speak up and to talk about how, Monique was being so vulnerable, and, she was was vulnerable enough to share with us, and she's just trying to have a good co-parenting relationship with Chris, which I'm like, did she ever say they didn't have one? Like, why are we speaking for Monique so much? And I love then when Wendy jumped in to be like, this is making me uncomfortable. Monique is not here, and she should I would feel a lot more comfortable here, because she said, in the event that Cookie comes on the scene, she's gonna talk ill about her. And Cookie was right there to talk ill about people and stuff. And again, yes, let's not talk about anybody who's not there, which, oh no, it's Giselle's event. Because I was like, wait, why isn't she there? Forgot. This is Giselle's event. They still haven't even had their one-on-one and stuff like that. So no, I understand why Monique wasn't there. And then Cookie jumps in, like, do like real brawl look like. And, this prompts Wendy, like I said, to say what she said, because Kay is talking about is letting everybody know about how Stacey supposedly called Chris and told him, Monique was saying things to the effect of him treating her like a piece of meat, and he had bad sex, and et cetera, et cetera. And so Stacey points her finger at Cookie, and Cookie responds by saying, don't point your finger at me, which of course, Stacey ignores and points her finger out again. And at some point, Cookie like calls her, says like, oh, she's gonna take a shower with her dirty ass or something. And I'm just like, that was random. I'm like, Cookie, because your hair looks like it needs some dry shampoo. But anyway, with your funky ass. And Kay is still trying to drive this point home about how Monique is trying to be in a better space, and here Stacey goes starting stuff, and Stacey's like, okay, but that doesn't mean it's true. And Kay's like, well, she tries to make a moment, and she's saying that Stacey's been lying since she got in the group, and Stacey's like, girl, you're usually at a 0, and right now you moved up to a 2, so congratulations. And because the only time you do that is when it's about me. And I'm like, she has a point. When I said Stacey was like clearing the girls left and right during this last couple minutes of the episode, I was getting my life, because, and I know she had Kay gagged when Kay thought, she was going to get one off by, trying to tiptoe out off the scene, talking about some, and I would never trust you around my husband. And Stacey's like, girl, you don't even have a husband. What are we talking about? And y'all know, if you've watched any of my videos before, that that Stacey, or that I hate when people bring up the whole like, let's throw you not having a man in somebody's face. And this kind of goes in line with what I said before, because you never know. You might have a man right 1 minute, and then that man could be not your man the next minute. So what are we talking about? But Kay walked right into that. She walked right into this whole thing. And I also really didn't like, and this could probably answer your question right here, Rose City. I also really didn't like UK bringing up or trying to interject in this situation with another non-friend of on the show in a certain situation that potentially could have escalated, got physical, or whatever. I love how you inserted yourself right into the middle of another situation that you said that it was synonymous with another situation that you said was super traumatic, and the most significant situation you've been in on the show. I thought that was kind of weird that now she was right in the middle of this too. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, that last 5 minutes gave me everything I needed. I'd love to see where we're gonna pick up next episode, y'all. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I feel, Rose City, about Kay. But on the other hand, beautiful gowns. That mug, undeniable, beautiful. Look at Gizelle in the back. Okay, undeniably gorgeous. But beyond that, it's. I just don't think this is for her. I don't, and it sucks. I would love this to be for her, but it's not, because if it's for you, you wouldn't have walked into that read. Sorry. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it, y'all. Okay. That's it. Shout outs to y'all in the chat. Shout outs to anybody who catches us on the replay. I enjoyed bumping my gums. Ooh, I did not mean to make this long. I'm sorry, but you know I can be long-winded, y'all. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the things. Again, I appreciate you sharing with your people. Make sure you're following me on my social media links that are in the description box. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.